Welcome to Shatter.
Help me reach 5,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. She said it without looking at me, like she'd been rehearsing the line for weeks. My life's not about you. The words hit harder than I expected, not because of what she said, but because of how calm she was when she said it. No anger, no tears, just certainty. I looked at her, then at the half-packed suitcase sitting by the door. I didn't argue. I didn't ask her to stay. I just said, perfect. Neither is my future. And that was it. The end came quiet, not with a fight, but with the sound of zippers and footsteps fading down the hall. The thing about endings is they never feel like endings when they happen. The silence that follows feels like a pause, not a goodbye. I spent the first few days pretending it didn't bother me. I told myself I was free now. No more drama. No more walking on eggshells. No more trying to fix something that had already burned down. But freedom has its own kind of weight. It creeps up at 2 a.m. when the apartment's too quiet and the only thing louder than the ticking clock is your own heartbeat. That's when I started noticing the small things she'd left behind. A hair tie on the counter. A jacket draped over a chair. The ghost of her perfume trapped in the walls. It took a week for the first message to come through. Just one line. Did you mean it? I stared at it for an hour before replying. Every word. She didn't respond. I thought that was the end of it. I moved on. Or at least, I tried to. I filled my days with work, the gym, plans that didn't include her name anywhere. I deleted old photos, muted her number, even rearranged the apartment so nothing looked the same. And for a while, it worked. I almost started believing my own story, that she was just another chapter closed. Then one night, I got a notification I didn't expect. A shared calendar reminder from her old account. It popped up out of nowhere. Dinner. 8 p.m. Same place. The restaurant we used to go every Friday. I hadn't seen her in months. I hadn't spoken to her in weeks. But that message wasn't accidental. I knew her too well. I stared at the screen, debating if I should delete it. But curiosity, like always, won. At exactly 8 o'clock, I walked into that restaurant. And there she was, sitting at our old table, waiting. But she wasn't alone. I froze the second I saw her. She hadn't changed. Same calm expression, same steady posture. But the man sitting across from her wasn't me. He was leaning forward, laughing at something she'd said, the kind of effortless charm I used to have before everything between us started falling apart. For a moment, I considered turning around and leaving before she saw me. But she already had. Her eyes met mine like she'd expected me to show up. No surprise, no guilt, just quiet acknowledgement. I could have walked away, but something in her gaze pinned me to the floor. I nodded once, sat at the bar instead, ordered a drink, and pretended to focus on anything but her voice drifting through the noise. She laughed again. I hadn't heard that sound in months. It didn't hurt the way I thought it would. It felt strange, almost detached, like watching a movie where I used to be the lead. I sipped my drink and told myself it was fine. She said her life wasn't about me, and I said my future wasn't about her. This was what freedom looked like. But then she stood up, left the table, walked straight toward me. She stopped just behind my chair, her reflection catching mine in the bar mirror. She didn't say hello, didn't smile, just looked at me with that quiet, unreadable calm. He called her name from the table. She didn't answer. Finally, she said, "You weren't supposed to come." I didn't turn. I just replied, "Then why send the invite?" She paused. I didn't. Her tone was too steady to be lying. I turned then, slowly, to face her. She looked nervous now, glancing toward the man still waiting for her. I checked my phone again, the shared reminder still sitting on my screen, her name clear as day. But when I opened it fully, the sender ID was different. The email wasn't hers. It was mine. I felt something cold move through me. She didn't send it. I did. Or something that looked like I did. Before I could say anything, her date stood, calling her again. She hesitated, whispered, "You should go." I watched her leave, but my attention wasn't on her. It was on the phone in my hand, still buzzing softly with a new notification. It was another reminder. Same time, same place, tomorrow night. Only this time, the name on it wasn't hers. It was mine. I barely slept that night. I kept staring at the new reminder on my phone. Same time, same place, but with my own name listed as the organizer. I checked everything. My calendar, my email, even the linked devices. Nothing explained how it got there. I hadn't sent it. But someone, somehow, had access to everything that was mine. By morning, I convinced myself it was a glitch. Or maybe a cruel coincidence. Still, part of me couldn't let it go. So, when the clock hit 7:45 the next evening, I found myself driving toward that same restaurant again. I told myself I just needed to see what would happen to prove that nothing would. The place looked exactly the same. The same waiter, the same lighting, even the same soft jazz humming in the background. But this time, she wasn't there. The table where she'd sat before was empty. For a moment, I thought I'd won. That the reminder was just another ghost of the past trying to pull me back. Then my phone buzzed. A new notification popped up, not a reminder, a message. It came from an unknown number, but the words were familiar. You said I wasn't in your future. You were right. I looked around, scanning the restaurant. No one seemed to be paying attention. The waiter passed by, asking if I wanted to order. I didn't answer. My eyes kept darting toward the window, to the reflection of the street behind me. That's when I saw her. She was outside, standing across the street. Same calm posture, same expression. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the table I'd sat at last night. The one she'd shared with that man. I got up fast, pushed through the door, and crossed the street. But when I reached the spot, she was gone. The air felt colder there, like the night had swallowed her whole. Then another buzz from my phone. One new message. You shouldn't have come back. I turned slowly, scanning the dark windows around me, the reflections shifting with the passing cars. That's when I noticed the glass storefront beside me. A faint glow of a phone screen reflected there, someone standing just out of view. I stepped closer. The reflection moved too, perfectly synchronized. And then, in that mirrored surface, I saw the message on their screen. It wasn't a text. It was a reminder. Tomorrow, 8 p.m., and it was sent from her account to mine. That reflection stayed burned in my mind. The glow of her phone, the message sitting there like an invitation I never agreed to. Tomorrow, 8 p.m., sent from her account to mine. It didn't make sense. I'd blocked her weeks ago. There was no way she could have reached me, unless she hadn't been the one sending them. I spent that night checking everything. My phone, my laptop, my accounts. No signs of hacking, no strange logins. It was all clean. Too clean. Like someone had scrubbed the traces before I even thought to look. Every clue I tried to follow disappeared before it led anywhere. By morning, I was exhausted. My head was full of noise, half logic, half paranoia. I told myself I wasn't going, that I'd ignore the reminder, let whatever game this was burn itself out. But as the day crawled forward, something in me kept whispering that if I didn't show up, I'd never know who was behind it. At 7:59, I parked across the street from the restaurant. I wasn't going in this time. I'd just watch. Wait. The place looked quiet, almost peaceful. Couples talking over dinner, laughter drifting through the glass. I scanned every face, every corner. Nothing. Then, just as the clock hit 8, a shadow moved by the window. Her. She walked in wearing the same jacket she'd worn the day she left. Same calm, unreadable face. But there was something off about her eyes, like she wasn't really seeing the world around her. She walked straight to the bar, sat down, and ordered a drink. I waited for my phone to buzz. It didn't. I waited for her to look around, to find me. She never did. Then, a waiter approached her, said something I couldn't hear. She nodded, reached into her bag, and pulled out a phone. She typed something fast, handed it to him, and pointed toward the window. The waiter stepped outside, scanning the street until his eyes landed on me. He walked over, calm, professional, and handed me the phone. It wasn't hers. It was mine. I turned it over in my hand, confused, then looked back toward the window. She was gone. Vanished. The screen lit up in my palm, one message waiting. You keep planning your future without me, but I've already written it. I stood there, holding the phone that shouldn't have been mine, reading the message that shouldn't have existed. You keep planning your future without me, but I've already written it. My reflection in the restaurant window looked as confused as I felt, like a stranger trying to recognize himself. I turned the phone over again, checking for scratches, something that would prove it wasn't real. But every mark, every small crack, it was identical. This was my phone. I tried to call my number. Nothing. The line was dead, like it had never existed. I ran across the street, back into the restaurant, ignoring the waiter's startled look. I scanned every corner, every table. She wasn't there. No trace she'd ever been. Her drink still sat on the counter, half finished, condensation slowly sliding down the glass. I asked the bartender about her. He looked confused. Said no woman had sat there all night. Said the drink was mine. I left the restaurant fast, my pulse pounding. The air outside felt heavier now, thicker, like the world was slightly off balance. The streetlights flickered in perfect rhythm with the buzzing in my head. I unlocked the phone, hoping for a clue. The message was gone. The entire thread, every conversation we'd ever had, erased. But something new sat in my calendar. A single reminder, 3 days from now. Final meeting. No location. No sender. I drove home in silence, trying to convince myself it was a prank or a mistake. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. It felt too personal, too precise. Every message, every moment had been building to something, and I was already inside it. That night, I set the phone on the counter and tried not to look at it. I turned on the TV, let it fill the room with meaningless noise, but the sound didn't help. Around midnight, the screen of the phone lit up again. I didn't touch it. Then it rang. The caller ID was mine. My own name, my own number, flashing across the screen. I answered. Static filled the line for a moment. Then her voice came through, soft, steady, and far too close. I told you my life wasn't about you, she said. But yours still is about me. The call ended. When I looked down at the screen again, a new reminder appeared, time-stamped for right now. It read, "Look outside." For a few seconds, I just stared at the screen. Look outside. The words pulsed softly in the glow of the phone, like they were breathing. I told myself not to do it. Whatever game this was, it fed on attention. But curiosity is a quiet predator. It doesn't ask, it pulls. I walked to the window. The city outside was almost silent, that strange hour between midnight and dawn when everything feels half alive. Then I saw her, standing across the street. Still, unmoving. The same jacket, the same calm posture. Her face tilted slightly up toward my apartment window, like she'd known exactly where to find me. I should have called someone, done anything except what I did next, but instead, I opened the window. The cold air hit me instantly, sharp enough to clear the fog in my head. I almost called her name, but something stopped me. The way she stood, it wasn't right. Her body wasn't tense or trembling from the cold. It was too still, too perfect. Then she moved, just one step back into the dark. The streetlight flickered once, and she was gone. I grabbed my keys and ran downstairs, ignoring the voice in my head screaming to stop. The street was empty when I reached it. No sound, no movement, just a faint smell in the air. Her perfume, the one I hadn't smelled since she left. It lingered like a ghost I couldn't shake. That's when I noticed the small object by the curb. My phone, the one I'd left upstairs on the counter. I picked it up slowly, my pulse hammering. The screen was unlocked, a new message open and waiting. Stop looking for me. I turned around fast, scanning the shadows. Nothing. I looked back at the phone, and the message was gone. In its place was a video file, timestamped 10 minutes in the future. I didn't open it. I couldn't. Back upstairs, I placed the phone face down on the table and waited. The time crawled forward. When the clock hit the timestamp, the phone vibrated once. The file opened by itself. The video showed my apartment, my living room, the same table I was sitting at, the same chair, and in the background, behind me, she was standing, watching. Then the screen cut to black. Before I could even move, I felt it. Warm air, just behind my neck. Someone was breathing. I didn't turn around. Every muscle in my body locked. The air behind me felt alive, heavy, deliberate. I could hear the faint rhythm of breathing, slow and steady, matching mine like an echo. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd gone too far. Maybe my mind was playing tricks after days of sleepless nights. But then the breathing stopped, and something colder replaced it. The feeling of being watched from the inside out. I turned slowly. The room was empty. No sound, no movement. But the air still carried her scent, faint and unmistakable, like it had soaked into the walls. I looked at the window, closed. The door locked. There was no way anyone had been inside. Still, I couldn't shake the sense that she hadn't left. The phone buzzed again, the vibration cutting through the silence like a pulse. One new notification. Another calendar reminder. This one had no time, no date, just a title. The last plan. I opened it. The details field was empty, but at the bottom, a single location pin blinked. I zoomed in. It was the cabin by the lake, the one we'd rented the summer before everything fell apart. The place where she'd told me, "My life's not about you." And I'd replied, "Neither is my future." That was the day we started ending. I should have deleted it. Instead, I grabbed my keys. The drive took hours, most of it through back roads surrounded by trees that swallowed the headlights whole. The cabin appeared out of the dark like a memory resurrected, small, quiet, frozen in time. The front door was unlocked. Inside, dust covered everything. No lights, no warmth. But there was one thing on the table in the center of the room, a phone. Not mine. Hers. The screen was cracked, the battery almost dead. I picked it up, and before I could even think, the screen lit. A video started to play. The frame was shaky, handheld. It showed the same cabin, same room, me, sitting in this exact chair. Her voice came from behind the camera, calm and soft. "You said I wasn't in your future, but you're still living in mine." The video ended with a sharp sound, 3 knocks. At that exact moment, the same sound echoed from the front door. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. And then her voice, whispering through the wood, barely audible. "Let's finish your plan." The sound of those knocks froze me. 3 slow hits, steady enough to sound intentional. Then the whisper followed, soft, close, too close. "Let's finish your plan." I didn't move. Every part of me wanted to run, but something heavier kept me in that chair, staring at the door like it might open on its own. I told myself not to answer, that if I stayed quiet, whatever was out there would go away. But silence only made the air thicker. The knocks came again, this time faster, louder, angry. Then they stopped, replaced by the sound of footsteps circling the cabin, deliberate and slow, like someone tracing the walls. I picked up her phone, my hand shaking, and checked the battery, 2%. I tried opening the message log, the photos, anything. Everything was blank. Just one file sat in the video folder, timestamped for tonight. It started playing automatically. The camera showed the outside of the cabin, filmed from somewhere near the trees. My car was visible in the shot. The door to the cabin creaked open. I watched myself walk inside. The video was happening in real time. I dropped the phone. It hit the floor, the screen shattering completely. The video kept playing through the tiny cracks of light, my reflection still visible in the glow. The footsteps stopped outside. The doorknob started to turn. I backed up slowly, reaching for anything I could use as a weapon, a lamp, a chair, anything. The knob turned again, harder this time. I yelled that I'd call the police, but my voice broke halfway through. No answer, just quiet breathing from the other side of the wood. Then everything went still. For a moment, I thought it was over. I almost believed it, until I heard the faint buzz of my phone from inside my pocket. One new notification. It was a calendar alert. The title, Now. Before I could react, the lights in the cabin flickered on by themselves. Every bulb glowed for half a second, then burst with a pop that sent glass scattering across the floor. The power cut completely, leaving only the dim glow of her broken phone still flickering near the door. And in that fading light, I saw her silhouette reflected in the cracked glass. Not outside. Inside. Standing right behind me. I didn't turn right away. I couldn't. The reflection in the broken glass was enough. Her shape standing too close. Her head tilted the way she used to when she was studying me in silence. My chest felt like it was collapsing inward. I forced myself to turn, slowly, and for a moment the air in the cabin stopped moving. She was there. Or at least, something that looked like her. The same jacket, the same calm eyes, but something was wrong. Her skin was too pale, her movements too precise, like she was remembering how to be human. She didn't speak. She just watched me, and in that silence I heard the faint hum of my phone vibrating again from the floor. I didn't dare move. I couldn't. My voice barely came out when I finally said, "You're not real." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. Then she whispered, "Neither are you." The words hit harder than a scream. I stepped back, tripped over a chair, and fell hard enough to make the room spin. When I looked up again, she was gone. The cabin door was wide open, the wind rushing in, bringing the smell of the lake with it. I scrambled to my feet and grabbed her phone again. It flickered once before dying completely, the screen turning black. My own phone buzzed again. the light from the display cutting through the dark. A new message appeared. No number. Just the text. Final meeting. Step outside. Every instinct said no. But I couldn't stop myself. I walked to the doorway, each step heavier than the last. The night outside was still, unnaturally still. The lake was a perfect mirror, reflecting the sky and the small shape standing at its edge. Her. She didn't move as I approached. I wanted to shout, to ask why, but the closer I got, the quieter everything became. Even the wind disappeared. When I reached her, she finally turned. And for the first time, I saw her face clearly. It wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. The reflection on the surface of the lake showed two of me, one standing, one watching. Then the figure smiled and said, "You said your future wasn't about me. You were right." The reflection leaned closer. "It's about what you become without me." And before I could breathe, it stepped forward, into me. The moment it touched me, everything went silent. Not quiet, silent. No wind, no sound, not even the faint hum of my own breathing. The world froze around me like a photograph. I tried to move, but my body wouldn't listen. My reflection on the water blurred, then split into two, the man I was and the thing that now shared my shape. It leaned forward until our faces were inches apart. The eyes looking back at me weren't hers, and they weren't mine either. They were empty, like the calm center of a storm. For a second, I thought I saw something behind them. Memories, maybe. Ours, mixed together, scattered like broken glass. Every fight, every laugh, every word we never said out loud. Then I heard her voice again, not from the outside, but from somewhere inside my head. "You planned a future without me," she said, "but you built it with my silence." The world around me began to move again, slowly at first, as if time were restarting in pieces. My heart pounded, the cold air burned my lungs, but I couldn't tell if I was breathing for one person or two. I stumbled back, gasping, and looked down at the lake. There was only one reflection now, mine. But something about it was wrong. The movements didn't match. When I lifted my hand, the reflection hesitated. When I blinked, it didn't. It just smiled, faintly, like it knew something I didn't. A vibration in my pocket snapped me back. My phone. I pulled it out, half afraid of what I'd see. One last calendar notification glowed on the screen. The title, Future Confirmed. The location field simply said, Home. The screen went black. When I looked up again, the lake was still, the air too calm, and the reflection finally caught up, mirroring me perfectly now. I told myself it was over, that it had to be. But as I turned to leave, I noticed something carved into the wooden post near the shore. Words I hadn't seen before, etched deep enough to feel fresh. "My life's not about you." And underneath it, scratched in my own handwriting, barely legible beneath the weathered grain, "Neither is my future." The air shifted, the reflection rippled, and for a brief moment, I saw her face again in the water, smiling, calm, endless. Then it was gone, and I finally understood. Some people don't leave you behind. They wait, quietly, until you become them. Real men don't explode. They exit. Subscribe for more power stories.